Hi, Lisa Schermerhorn here, and you're on the Grassroots Warrior Network, and this is my show where truth lies. And I am thrilled and honored to have a dear friend of mine to be participating in my book, We Are Quantum. And she has helped me in so many ways, and I think she has so much wisdom for all of us. And I want to introduce you because she's also a visionary founder of Find Your Mentor and a guiding voice in the movement of quantum consciousness. And I want, I want, we've talked a little bit about this before we got on here, but one of the things that struck me of what you said is we don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. I'd love for you to talk about that.
Thank you. So honored to be here. Thank you, Lisa. Our story is just so absolutely amazing. I love how we met and how just our journey has been a continuation of just exchange of wisdom and knowledge and inspiration and friendship. So thank you. Um, well, yeah, it's not, a lot of these statements have a kind of a poetic sound to them, but for me, this is probably one of the most profound statements that I've ever heard. And I would call it quantum truth, which ties very beautifully into this topic today. And so our entire being functions as a quantum machine. So my whole understanding, my experience, my journey, my life's journey, the wisdom I've been able to collect through everything that I've experienced and through amazing guides, which you are one of, is that our whole being functions as a quantum machine. I believe if that weren't the case, we wouldn't be able to create all of these amazing technologies because they're basically created in our image and or channeled through our higher selves, soul, spirit, God, consciousness, Christ consciousness, however somebody wants to call it. Um, but so we're designed to receive, interpret, and transmit information, and just in my experience. And um, we're constantly syncing with fields of frequency and vibration around us. And um, the more perceptive we are, the more attuned we are in our bodies, with our bodies, and through our bodies, the more we can receive, obviously. Um, I think to just break this down into one really powerful sentence, I would say when we take radical self responsibility for our state of being, we tap into our creative power. And I think that's really where it comes down to stepping out of the some call it 3D consciousness, merging into 5D consciousness, which is we are the creators. But what a lot of people miss is um, the responsibility, the self responsibility that comes with that is profound. And that really takes us looking into every single aspect of us and where are we not attuned. And the more we take responsibility, the more powerful we become as a result. But I don't believe that true power comes without the right amount of responsibility, because with that you can wield you can wield power for good and evil. And that's why we need responsibility, and we need to keep ourselves or each other accountable so that we do not go off course and we use it in an ethical way, because that's ultimately what we're here for, is to do good. And I think humanity is inherently good in my perspective, and the universe is too. It's tilted towards the good, but we have both, and it's just reality.
Well,
Yeah.
well, when you talk about that, I think I agree. I think
Mhm.
humanity is inherently good. It's when people are acting out through their wounded self
Mhm.
that appears to be evil or dark when it's really a giant wound. And when you
Mhm.
take responsibility, as you just said, taking responsibility, um, I have people who come to me who want healing, but
Mhm.
unless they're able to or have the desire to take responsibility for their own behavior and their own part in how their life has turned out and forgive, it's very difficult to heal. That's what gets it's like that's where it's almost like a pipeline that's clogged, and removing that clog out of the pipeline so you could start to flow. Oh, we lost you're muted.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
I totally agree. And I also believe that the upheaval we're experiencing or witnessing right now in the world um, isn't necessarily destruction in maybe in a main term sense. Is just my feeling is it's a reorganization, and humanity is waking up, and we're all waking up to this. If we want to or not, that's a different question. So
Right.
we're all realizing we're no longer subject to reality. We're the creators, and I think that is where that's really shocking to the system. It's also a shock to wake up and realize that everything that has happened to us was because we were asleep and not because um yeah, I don't know. I would so wish that we could step out of judgment. Wouldn't that be beautiful if we could just step out of that and just become the observers? We would just immediately tap out of that sense of negativity that drags us down and keeps us
Right.
held back.
There's a saying, Ted Lasso, for those of you who haven't
Yeah,
seen the
yeah.
series, where he talks about Jason Sudeikis is the main character, and he
Mhm.
talks about being curious instead of being judgmental. And it's one of
Oh,
the
I
most
love that.
brilliant scenes in the entire series where he's playing darts and he talks about his life story and how everyone in the bar is judging him instead of being curious. And that hit me really deeply
Mhm.
because everyone comes at their reality from their own perspective. So to
Mhm.
tell someone they're wrong when it's their truth, everyone has their own truth. And what I've found is there's a difference between people working through their own truth versus being brainwashed and believing something that they don't even understand or know why they know what they know. And I think that's a huge part of what's happened to humanity is a massive brainwashing where people's free will has been taken away.
100%. I remember what you just said reminded me of something my father once told me, and I asked him, "What is your secret to marriage?" Why? Because he was phenomenal at it. We had a patchwork family, but he was just phenomenal at keeping everything balanced and peaceful and loving. And he said, curiosity. He said, we're all evolving at all times. And as soon as we judge somebody and put a label on them, we're holding them in the pattern they are in, even though they keep on evolving, and we don't allow our perception for them to support their evolution or their evolvement. And
Right.
that just sounded exactly like what you just mentioned, and that really stuck to me. I was like, oh, I will always want to focus on being curious with my
Yeah.
with my friends and my loved ones and my partner and my son, and so I, yeah. Um, it's interesting because we're really talking a lot about the principle of wisdom, the principle of knowledge, and I can share a little bit of how like my path, how I discovered for me my own wisdom, which I inherently rejected my name at the beginning, Sophia. I was like, that name sucks. Like I can't relate. Like, why did I get that name? I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted more, but I was just I couldn't relate because I had a at the beginning, like before I was a teenager, I was like, who am I? I didn't have that concept of self yet. And so I didn't have a concept of my name. It was really interesting. So the more I learned about my name, the more at the same time, I realized how it was actually part of my blueprint for a specific purpose. And I remember as a teenager, I already was instinctively leaning toward wisdom. So to name a few, and please nobody judge me, okay? So I didn't have like the Backstreet Boys or anything up on my wall. I have Rudolf Steiner, Gandhi, Malcolm X, Sai Baba, Tony Robbins, and even Trump. So
Wow. How old
they
were you?
well, this started when I was 14, 15, and then leading up to, I mean, I was surrounded by books from my parents, and so I was we had like everything up on our walls, from paintings from my father. He encouraged me to paint, to pictures of, you know, Mother Mary and um, uh, Rudolf Steiner. And my father was very open, and my mother too, to everything spiritual. And so I was already inherently connected to that part, where I didn't have, there was no thought in my mind of there is it ends with the physical. For me, it was all fluid. My mother would always talk in form of even chairs have energy. And now we know, thank you, Nikola Tesla, everything has a has a code, a frequency code. So I had all these images because I was seeing them as pieces of information that were giving me something, almost like a frequency, something. Everybody was giving me something. And if we stop judging and we look at, there is something, for example, and I'm going to take the most controversial figure here, which is Trump, something he has absolutely mastered is the ability to manifest. He speaks in form of affirmations, and a lot of people miss that. They think it's so simple, but it's affirmative. It's like, this is beautiful, not this will be beautiful or is becoming beautiful. This is beautiful. And so that's a different language than talking about something in the future or something that you want, because inherently it has lack within it. And so that is something I found fascinating for myself. It's like, that's
But
something
he
to,
also creates polarity in some of his language as well, wouldn't you say?
um, what I can say is what I took from that experience, like
Okay,
what I like to be able to say, I'm going to choose what I like and take that and leave the rest.
right. I'm just, for people who are watching going, wait a minute, he isn't always positive. He will often say things to wake people up, to let them know. And that isn't a bad thing. It's just that poke
Well,
that he will give.
that's our world, right? It's we're living in a world of
Right.
duality, and we need a contrast. Otherwise, why would we have senses? They give us direction as
Yeah.
to what we prefer, what we don't prefer. So it's up to us to say, is there anything that Trump has that I can take? If not, let me just leave him be.
Yeah.
So it's not for me. Fine.
Yeah.
There's so much in this world to pick and choose from. We don't have to get
No, that's
caught up in the
true.
weeds.
Totally true.
Yeah. So, well, I had, I guess, I was always very investigative. And so I think that all of them in different ways help shape how I see the world.
Right.
Um, and I believe everything around us is shaped of or holds frequency and purpose. And um, I think what's so inherently important is that we all grow up in an environment that has been programmed by others. We're born into this world with cell memory. We inherent genetic trauma, ancestral trauma, which you're an expert on. Um, and we inherit belief systems, trauma, genetic, all these genetic memories. Um, Yet at any moment, we can tune into the universal information field, you know, the morphogenetic field, or the field that holds everything. I believe we're on Earth to rediscover that and to tap back into that. But for that, we have to really focus on how do we alleviate ourselves um, and or heal, transform all of that information. It's so interesting. I find I thought about the a lot about the concept of free will, and we're not inherently free because of that, because we're born into a structure. Religion, where we live, our environment, the country, the language, it's all structured. And so to think that we have free will, um, I think is not true, but we can work toward that and towards freeing up ourselves to be really who we want to be. And so um, mentorship for me is a very, very real and central part of not only my life, but also just, I think, just evolution in general, which is also why I created Find Your Mentor, because I believe the fastest way to unlock our potential is to receive knowledge from someone who's walked the path before us and who understands something and has gathered the knowledge and the experience that I have not been able to acquire. I actually pulled a card today. It was right before our meeting, and it's so funny because this is what I got. It's like the shaman. And so I wanted to read what it says, because there's this beautiful book. This is a famous what do you call it, author, best-selling author. So if you don't mind, I'd love to read what it says about
No,
this card. And I was like, what, how suitable. So, okay. So, 3 archetypal ingredients constitute the shaman, and all must be present in order to reveal its magic. By the way, magic, what is magic? It's really a word we give, I would say, something that we don't fully understand, which is creative power, energy, maybe. So first, the shaman is activated by long-standing and diligent study of the mentor. Second, its orientation is generously and accurately aimed toward the healing of the self, the other, and the culture, the healer. And third, the shaman has a knack for finding doorways to the other world, allowing psychic visions and old magic to leak into this world, the unseen. In this way, the shaman is a master who bridges the everyday and the sacred, revealing potent power needed desperately in our time, yet where there in our time, yet where there is power, there is shadow. So the shaman must be vigilant in studying their darkness. This card reminds us that the force of healing is ultimately not our own. We must shape it and share it with the world. So what I love so much about this is that the literally in here is the mentor, and then also the the third the shaman has a knack for finding. And so I keep on stumbling across, and I believe that this platform that came through me was it just dropped into me, was the mentor and the finder are the two types in the platform. And it's really about all of us exchanging and giving and receiving with each other, all of the riches, because everybody has access to a different kind of information in a different way. And it's all about, how do you find the right person that you resonate with, that is able to bring across how you need it
right.
to digest it, right?
Well, if you
Yeah.
look at what has happened to our society over decades, is the mentorship
Mhm.
has really gone away. That when you had skill sets and wisdom and knowledge that got passed down generation to generation, and we have been taught that, no, we're going to scrap that. We're going to send everyone to universities and get them bankrupt, people bankrupt into these, enormous amounts of loans, spending a fortune, and then coming out with everyone trying to be the same
Mhm.
instead of tapping into our own innate wisdom. And what happens is, when people do, they can come across as being judged because it doesn't fall into the mainstream. And I think what needs to happen through mentorship and through all of these tools is for people to come into this place that we are all unique beings. Our body we already have these contracts of wisdom, and we're tapping into what you referred to as these different dimensions that hold that information. And I believe that a lot of these famous inventions and information that comes in, like Paul McCartney would talk about, a lot of famous music songwriters will say, oh, it just came in, I just started. They're tapping into the wisdom. And so when someone is clear in that, and you have also have a way of tapping into that wisdom, using your body, which is fascinating. There are people who use pendulums and will do body sway and all of that thing. We can talk about what that really means and what that is, because we already have the answers to everything. We don't need to go outside of ourselves. And you tap into that in a beautiful way.
Thank you. It's the most humbling and it's the most exciting experience for me every time. And every time it happens, I am just ultimately baffled by the fact that we're able to do this. I'm able to do this. And I really have to work on myself to allow this to be a thing, because I keep on just looking at myself from an outside perspective and like, what? It's hard to just to accept it. It's been very hard for me to accept this. which is really strange because you'd think like, wow, cool, new ability or something. And so, I mean, I think my entry point, yes, you wanted to say something.
That's so funny. I didn't say anything, but I was
Oh,
thinking very loud.
I could hear it.
I bet you could hear it. But it's the same, it was the same process for me. When I was sitting with someone who was a psychic and said, your spirit guide wants you to read a book about shamanism. And I was like, what? I'm a Jewish girl from New Jersey. What is this? And there's a whole story of how I ended up with this book we don't have time for, but I ended up taking this book home, Sandra Ingerman's about shamanism. And I read it and I'm like, what am I gonna do with that? And I give it back to her. And two other times, the other people were putting shaman in front of me. It's like the universe kept pulling me.
Ding.
Yeah. And so I don't call myself that, but I know there's a lot of that wisdom that I use, you know, as a practitioner and what I do. But if you allow the universe, God, whatever you would say, your body will take you on a magical trip. It feels like magic because we're surrendering and letting go. And it's the surrender because when you step into what you do, it's authentic. It's what you're here for. And just because no one else understands it or knows how to do it doesn't make it wrong or bad. It makes it unique to you and for us all to own it. It took me a long time to own it because I was mocked for it. You know, people don't understand it. But I think the times are ready for this now as we move more into the fifth dimension and people are more open to, that's the purpose of this book. We Are Quantum is to help people understand that we're not linear. There is no such thing as time.
We are so quantum.
We can go back and forth within time and change things from the past that shift our future.
Absolutely. I mean, I think in 2016 is when I discovered frequency. I guess I had a breakthrough moment. I was tested by 4 different frequency machines. It's called bioresonance. And one of them wasn't even connected to me. It was connected to the information field. It just had my, let's say, my profile in it. So that was basically all it had. So they all read out the exact same data. One was connected to earphones through magnetic frequency. It was able to scan through my body. The other one was holding nodes. The other one I had plates under my feet. The other one wasn't connected to me at all. And so this was all going on simultaneously in one room. So there was like no faking this, no data could have been transferred over or anything. And so that day changed how I understood medicine, healing, and human potential completely, because these machines, again, had been developed by human beings. And so it was just the using of mechanics to tap into something greater than what we're even able to perceive yet. I think we're getting there. But what I guess we are bioinformation beings. So our bodies are healing machines, I believe. And when our emotions and intentions are aligned, our whole system recalibrates. This, for me, this is quantum self-healing in action. And I think that Tesla understood that with his 369 theory. I've been deep diving into that. It's a doorway to our untapped potential of 90%. I mean, everybody knows that, probably that movie of No Limits, where he's taking a drug to be able to tap into that 90% and of our being. And I think that when our thoughts, emotions, and actions sync, we become absolutely magnetic, coherent, and blissfully powerful. And I've had an experience with my body where I've collected over the years through several experiences just a lot of pain, and I've been my nervous system was so overstimulated at one point that I had eczema to the point where my hands were just bleeding from within. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even wash my hair. I couldn't touch my mouse. I couldn't wash the dishes. I felt like a handicapped person because I had it on patches on my body, but my hands were just the worst and they were debilitating. My face, I didn't want to go into camera anymore without filters because I looked like 30 years older sometimes when I woke up in the morning because my skin was just crumpling up. And it was my nervous system that had deregulated. It started in 2007 when I had a near burnout situation, but I prevented it from happening. But my nervous system got deregulated. I tried everything under the sun, moon, and stars, including working with a shaman. I held crystals. I took big pharma drugs. I tried everything. Nothing worked until I discovered frequency healing. And what that did was 2021, I was going into like a worse state. And I have this documented with before and after pictures with timestamps. I used it and I literally, I would say like 3 days later, my hands started to clear up. In 10 days, my hands were free. 20 days later, my whole body was free. And then my sun cleared up. And
Wow.
I was like, okay, this is real. And this is what I feel with the 369 method, which is that is what we truly are able to do. So this frequency healing is something that when we learn how to use our own machine, we don't need any external devices anymore. We're heading there. We're on our way. We're dealing with too much environmental distracted, not distractions, but burden still. We don't properly know how to nourish ourselves. We don't have clean enough water. We have so many challenges, and we need these devices. We need each other to get through this time. But in the process, without this contrast, as you said with Trump before, without this contrast, we wouldn't be discovering who we want and what we would prefer and how strong we are. And stop complaining about outer circumstances. Understand, it's like it's not outer circumstances that matter. It's being, it's state of being that is actually defining of our outer reality. And I'm my mission too through Find Your Mentor is to build a conduit, and I want to connect people to the right mentors, the right people who have the knowledge that is the right conduit for them to tap into their own potential and
Right.
get access to the right knowledge and the right frequencies. Yeah, so um, we don't have to evolve alone. We need humans. We need each other. I need you, Lisa. I keep on needing you, and I'm so grateful. And I think I wouldn't even know what to do without people like you in my life. And I think one big emphasis that we need to think about is who are we giving power to? Who are we asking advice from? Have they walked the path? Do they? This is the whole thing about choosing the right mentor.
Right.
Is who, what do they stand for? Have they walked the path successfully? How are they living their life? Because so many talk a talk and they don't walk what they talk about. And
Right.
that's really the what I say, not the um, it's just the gap that we have in humanity between what people are saying, what they're doing, which is just that's the space of unawareness of being in touch with who you are.
I so agree. And one thing I
Mhm.
just want to clarify,
Yep.
369, if you think about that, I just want to, would you say that that is also considered the Fibonacci sequence? Is that when you say the 369, or is that something separate?
Yes, I would.
Okay, because I
They,
think, yeah, for people who are curious about
mhm,
what 369 is,
mhm,
they can look into what the Fibonacci
mhm,
sequence is, and I think that's what Tesla had used. The multiples of the 3, 6, 9, and
mhm,
how
mhm,
everything
mhm,
the continuum. You said walk the path successfully. Who wants to make more money from someone who claims to be a, let's say, an abundance coach who's not successful? And there are people who are out there all the time who do
mhm,
that.
mhm,
And so when you talk about vetting the right mentors,
mhm,
it's got to be from someone who's done it before.
mhm,
From me, coming from someone who had suicidal ideation 25 years ago, and I was going from therapist to therapist to therapist. And I remember that I making this statement when I finally went through my own healing process, is that I
mhm,
wanted to be the person that I was looking for 20 years ago. I wanted to be that whole person who's gone through all of that, because there are other people in pain like me. And so that's what makes a real mentor, and how you are accessing those people and creating a special algorithm
mhm,
that will allow people to access those people
mhm,
better than just doing a Google search, online, and really giving people an opportunity to see what that's all about. And that's quantum.
Yeah, that's really quantum. I really believe it's time for ethics to enter the technology space. I believe technology is so powerful. I mean, frequency, these machines that were testing me, they were also technology and designed into a physical format to serve us. Everything can serve us, everything can destroy us, the same way a gun or a knife
Right.
or a rock can. So can everything else out there. And it's through the lens of how we perceive reality that we will project. It's the observer effect, right? We project something into something that just is. It's inherently not dangerous, but if we see it as dangerous, we will actually turn it into something dangerous, possibly to our own fate. And I that's really where we are deregulated within ourselves. It's expecting the worst, or it's stuck in victimhood, or stuck in past trauma or past experiences. And we're really coming out of dark times. I mean, this is no joke. We have so much still to figure out in this world. But at least if, like, for anybody who's hearing or listening to this right now, I would love to tell everybody that you are on your right path right now. The fact that you're even listening to this is so significant. And you really don't need anything outside of yourself to begin. It's just start where you are with what you have. And just by listening to this, something is opening up inside of you and wants to get to the next level. And um, I wanted to say something about this thing that I experienced in the pandemic that just fully activated in the pandemic with me, which was that our bodies are so immensely powerful. And I've gone through a recent I'm going actually through a very profound experience right now. So through all of these experiences and then relationships that were not meant to be, that I projected a lot of want and hope into, but were not aligned with me, but I thought I'll align it. No problem. I got this. I'm so powerful. I can totally align this. And it was not meant to be. So I caused for my own stress. Um, and I'm experiencing something right now very profoundly, which I wanted to share, which is I met somebody and my body is actually telling me and guiding me to trusting that person before my nervous system is allowing me to. And I'm really becoming aware of what is my body feeling, what is it telling me, and it's so much more intelligent. If we think of the torus field, our heart, right, what it can do. Like if we're in proximity to somebody else, our energy fields merge, and then we can feel something. If we can get attuned to that, which is so difficult when our nervous system is deregulated, like, no, it's another bad situation. It's going to lead down this rabbit hole or this path or whatever. And I think the most important thing for me was throughout the years was letting go of the things that were holding me back. And through this ability to feel through my body, and everybody has something else that is going to guide them down their own path. We all are on our unique journey. But I experienced something where when I tapped what you were mentioning before, when I tap into the information, I connect my body to it and I tap into it. Suddenly, I override my logical thinking, my brain, what I think is supposed to be. I override judgment. And there's something that comes through that is so clear and um, uh, so truthful. And I can feel this is right. And at this point, there's always, with energy, there is something, it's like you come into a room and you feel like ecstatic. You're like, "Woo, I like this energy, right? This is great," without even anybody saying anything. And or you're like, whoa, this is dense. I'm gonna just sit down in the corner and shut up. It's kind of like the whatever is going on. And it's the same thing. You can feel that with anything really. And that's all I'm tapping into. And so I catch my brain and my system saying, oh, well, this is probably what's going on. And then I tap into it and I'm like, oh, I had no idea. This is absolutely not what was going on. Um, so I don't know how you experienced that.
Well, it's so interesting that you asked because one of the things that I have learned from Honey C. Golden, because she's always asking her higher self.
Mhm.
And so she's kind of mentored me in that way, where I started sitting and asking myself questions. And then I ask, what is my yes? What is my inner yes? And then I have a sensation that rushes through my body. And even when I'm working with people or doing interviews or whatever,
Mhm.
people get what they call the goosebumps or God bumps. You get
Mhm.
that chill. For
Mhm.
me, it goes up my body and then down my arms. And you'll see me do this. It
Wow.
literally will jump me out of my chair. And then I ask, what is my no? And my no is this tightness feeling in my throat.
Mhm.
And then what is my neutral? And neutral is a sensation in my lower abdomen. It's just like a feeling or a knowing, but it's not uncomfortable. It's just, oh, that's a feeling. So to me, it doesn't matter what decision I make or what goes on.
Mhm.
There's no power to that decision. It's moot. It's neutral.
Mhm.
So what people when people understand that they can be there, if they start tapping into that and getting out of their own way. And I've
Mhm.
watched you do this. And I'd love for you to step people through because I've seen you write things down on pieces of paper and throw them on the floor. And it looks like, what the heck is she doing? And then all of a sudden, the wisdom starts coming through. And that's when we have to get out of our conscious mind and just allow the wisdom to come in. Those are the aha moments that come in because it's not you. It's never you.
Well, that makes me tear up because I don't think I've ever talked about this in public ever. And it's difficult. And come back to the beginning of our conversation where you said, I think it's time for people to hear everything, like not hold back
Yeah.
anymore. But I am so afraid of being judged for this, because it's so sacred and it's so special. And I know I know how sensitive I am, and I'm sensitive to energies. I can feel people if they're thinking negative thoughts in connection with me. I can feel it, and I can almost pinpoint what it is that they're saying or thinking. Um, and how can I make this? How can I describe this in the most logical way? I what I really do is if I get a question, if somebody asks me something, or it could be anything. It could be, I'm pregnant. What is it going to be? It could be, I'm not feeling well. Something, I have a symptom. What is it? What is behind it? Am I sick? Is it something alarming? What is the process behind the sickness, or what is the intention? I'm really good at reading out intentions. Like I can get so incredibly accurate details about something. I can, so if there's a question for a business, for example, if somebody's wanting to know, is this a good business to invest in? And, or I have two companies or any kind of situation. And, or should I market on Facebook or should I market on Instagram? It could be anything. And so I tap into that question by writing everything down on pieces of paper because I need something to anchor my system into. And it has to be really accurate what I write down. Otherwise, it will not come through. It's almost like you have two pipes and you bring them together and then it just goes through.
I love
Um,
that metaphor.
yeah, I just thought of that. It was like that makes sense, I guess. So when I write it down, and I use my body to feel into it, and then always it's so wild sometimes what comes through, and like, wow, I would have loved, I couldn't, you can't make this up. Like I would have never connected the dots, but then I can see the relationships between people to each other, how they're the, as we say, not the symptoms, but the causes of the symptoms. And that comes through, and then I can share that. But it's also important that I need to be asked or requested. I can't say, hey, I can help you because I see you have a problem. Do you want me to look into this? That backfires because not
Right.
everybody's ready to hear this and at a point where they can also take the truth. So it's a very sacred process for me to do this because I'm telling somebody something that they might not know, and that is the absolute ghost could go to the deepest core of who they are, but will also bring out the potential of the situation, the solution, and also the healing. um, and I do it really in the most mindful, kind, loving way. um, and it's all good. I'm like, how, I always think to myself, how can somebody not want to know this? It's you. Like, if I'm talking to someone, I'm like, it's you. How can you be afraid of yourself? Anything that is in the shadows or hidden, um, is part of your potential. And because it's in the shadows, it's going rogue. It's a part of you that is going rogue and that you have no control over, which is taking from your power. Why would you not want to know that? It's like a puzzle piece. And you're like,
Right.
I'm walking around like like the picture, and there's like holes in it. I'm like, I'm good with that. I'm like, why would you be good with that? Let's put the pieces back in.
Right. And in a way, I think of you for people who know
Mhm,
dowsing, right? For
mhm,
people who know there's dowsing for water, which most people have heard of, but
mhm,
there's also energy dowsing, where you can use dowsing rods that will move when you ask yes or no questions, or people
mhm.
will use pendulums to ask yes or no questions to find out. You are like a walking, living, breathing human
Human
pendulum.
pendulum. I never thought about
That's
that.
what popped into me. My thoughts when you were describing that is that because you get this information and people will ask you questions.
Mhm,
Um, and here's the other thing. When you ask questions, you're asking your higher self, if it's in your highest and best to do something. And what if it sends you on this wild goose chase and you're like, wait a minute, this didn't go out the way I planned. Something bad in my perception happened. Well, what if part of your universal God plan was to go through this whole thing because you needed the lesson? So within
right.
the answers, there cannot be judgment because we don't know, number one, what your contract is. We don't know what your lesson needs to be for you to become that higher self, that next level going through that journey.
Wow. Ah, one of my favorite authors, Robert Greene, who wrote I think um, uh, laws of, what is it, power, I think, the 24 laws of seduction, I think. So many, many books. And he
Mhm.
described his whole life journey was a sequence of random, just chaotic experience and jobs that didn't make sense. And but he was experiencing himself, humanity. He was going through all of these different situations where people around him were like, yeah, what are you doing? And then suddenly he sat down and just like whoosh, just came through him, and he wrote these amazing books. So you really never know. And that's why there cannot be any judgment about a path that somebody's going down, because we don't know what the soul plan is. Like, what did they come here to, how, what are they meant to experience to be able
Right.
to then suddenly open up? And some come already fully activated, like Mozart, or like some people who are just like at 4 years old, they know I want to be a doctor and they become a doctor. That was not my journey. I didn't come here
No,
like completely knowing what my purpose was. I had to unpack it, still unpacking
yeah,
it.
I feel like my life has been into segments of
Hmm.
different lives. I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes like I'm a cat having these 9 lives. There's all these little
It's
segments
like,
of
oh, died again.
completely different experiences, right? And one of my greatest lessons has been to say yes, even though I'm scared.
So difficult.
You have to say yes to things, because some of the most magical experience in your life is that surrender and letting go. And
Mm,
the work that you do can help someone if they're in that crossroads
mm,
and they're scared, because it's normal, because we always want to control what the outcome is going to be. But when you listen to your higher self and your higher self says yes, and the rest of you is going, what am I doing? I don't understand. This doesn't make sense. And then it all comes together. It all happens.
mm.
And then it's like, wow, there was just magic in my life. And so listen to the yes and the no and that maybe the neutral, because and take judgment out, because there is so much beauty in this world and we don't know what we signed up for contract. Someone told me many, many years ago when I first started getting involved in energy work, they said, the alcoholic, I hate the word bum because no one is a
Mhm.
bum, but people understand that term, but
You can have
someone
bum
who is,
behavior.
yeah, bum behavior, but someone who's, let's say, a drug addict living on the street could be the oldest, most wisest soul because they sacrificed their life to teach others humanity and compassion. We don't know.
And also, I I also believe I would add something to that, which is it's controversial for many, is that I also believe that we came here to want to experience life in a certain way. We might actually want to experience the life of a bum because
Yeah,
that adds to our soul experience, and who knows in what way it's also balancing something greater out than what we're seeing happening on a bigger scale. A lot of people think about the people who actually commit like evil crimes and they
right.
just die. And I believe in reincarnation, and I believe that, you know, when we come back, our soul has gone through a washing process of, okay, I, imagine coming back with a soul plan to rebalance the scales
Right.
and to experience what is it like to be the opposite. How can I, and also balancing the scales in um, for humanity. I mean, there's so many things we don't know yet, and we're so
Right.
judgmental because we're coming out of these doctrines, these beliefs, these what also mentors are just there to inspire something within us. We have to become really good at reading our own inner guidance system, because even the best mentor could suddenly um, go into their own healing process and go off course for us. And we have to also be
Right.
discerning and say, this mentor right now is not the right fit for me anymore. Maybe he will become again a good fit. But right now, I took what I could. Thank you. Bless you. And this experience, and move on, and not expect, really check in with your own expectations, and raise your own standards, but like really check in with your own expectations.
I love that you just said that because I have had several mentors in my life that I met at exactly the point that I was at in my life,
Mm.
right? And what happened is because I had such low self-esteem, I kept giving my power away to them, thinking, oh, they know so much more than I do, so I need to do what they tell me. And so what would happen is I'd start to raise and learn and do everything because I wanted to be the best student. And then suddenly I'd reach really the limit of what they were capable of teaching me at that point. And then what would happen is as I'd start to rise up, I don't want to say above, there is no above and below, but my seeking of new information, it would trigger
Mhm,
my mentor.
mhm,
And that happened several times,
mhm,
three profound experiences. And I had to learn to hold that in me and make the decision that, okay, I've gotten what I need from this person. I have my discernment. It doesn't feel right in my body. This doesn't resonate anymore. It's time for the next person. Until I got to a point where I said, I have everything I need right now. I don't
mhm.
need to constantly seeking outside of myself. It was time for me to then go inward and use my own wisdom. But it's been a lifetime to get there. Does that mean I don't seek out wisdom from others? No, that's not it. I'm still always learning, but I'm not going to put someone on a pedestal constantly, give my power away, and then let them lead me around as to what my life should look like.
Yeah, I can relate. I can also remember like a time in my life where I was like, I basically put everything on a pedestal, including my partner, and that always backfired on me. And
Yeah.
because I was always in a disempowered state, and then I complained about the disempowered state, but I was the one putting them on the pedestal until I realized that. But I was only able to realize that through working with somebody, and I think that's so important that um, we need to get to that point, right? Where you realize you rose above, not, yeah, as you said, well, you're like, okay, I learned what I can from that person. and now it's time to separate ways. But it's kind of shocking to the system, isn't it, to realize that? Because you're like, oh, what
It's
did I do?
traumatic. It
It is.
can be traumatic
Yeah.
because when you put someone way up on that pedestal and they suddenly fall, they're not doing anything different. Yet
No.
we want to blame them for our
Mm,
own discomfort. It's like we have to, this is where we have to take responsibility for our lives. It reminds me of that movie with Jerry Maguire when there's that statement, "You complete me." It's like people attach themselves onto other people and they let
mm,
go of their own humanity and they're searching and searching. If I'm in a relationship and someone says, "You complete me," I'm out of there,
I understand.
right? So it's like you want to be in balance, which you talked about, and
Mm,
have that balance of allowing each person to be their own individual and partner instead of some of the reasons why many relationships break up is because we are looking to have the other person complete ourselves, um, make us happy when the only thing where the happiness comes from inside. And how many people say that to us? It was like, how do you find that inner peace? How do you find all that? It's like if I could meditate without my head spinning, it would be that easy. Why didn't someone tell
mhm,
me how? Don't just tell me to do it.
mm,
Um, and that's a lot of what these mentors are doing for people is helping them break these down and helping them understand and getting that spinning mind and the self-deprecating, language.
mm.
And for people who have gotten there, I'm right now, for the first time in my life, literally living in the fifth dimension with flow like I've never experienced. I could not have gotten here if I hadn't gone through my own hell.
Mhm, mhm.
And miracle stories of things showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up. And then that voice inside me goes, well, can I hold this? Right?
Mhm.
Is my conscious mind going to allow me to hold this, or am I going to trip myself up and lose all of this? So this is the trial of, you know, getting the rug pulled out from under us because we've always believed it's too good to be true. But
Mhm.
this is our natural state. And when you watch everything start to come and you say, wow, imagine if we could live like this all the time. And by having these mentors and having this life and allowing our body to really um, be the boss, right? Allow our body and surrender over to, example of what you do.
Mhm.
That's where the magic is,
Yeah. The second favorite quote of mine is, "We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are."
right?
And it's like, who am I? First of all, like that I am is already like, we're already perfectly designed.
Right, right,
But who am I underneath the programs that I inherited or that I took on, not knowingly, without
right,
judgment? It's just like, if when you're a child, you take on all kinds of beliefs and patterns of your surrounding, and you don't question it. But
right,
does it keep on serving you? Probably not. Because then you just become basically a copy and paste. And that's what you did. You didn't come here to be copy and paste version of yourself. You came here to be like your unique self, like your own eh, fantastic person of create magic and wonders and experience like the best life that you possibly can. And I've often experienced when I ask for something, um, I want to manifest something and I make the request, that it often comes delivered in a way that I could have never made up ever in my wildest dreams. I'm like, wow, who put that together? That was freaking amazing. The
I love it.
packaging, the experience, and the everything that came with it was like, wow, like it is absolutely magical. And we open ourselves up to, um, um, what is it? If we open ourselves up to what would you say, Lisa? How would you complete that sentence?
If we were to open ourselves up to our truth,
Mhm.
The truth, our truth of who we are. And
Mm.
that um, is very scary for people because the other part of it is, what if my truth is different than the truth of my family
Oh,
or my
yeah.
partner or my friends,
Mhm.
right? And
Will I
sometimes
lose them?
you might lose them, and you have
Mhm.
to be strong enough and willing to risk it. And that's what holds a lot of people back. Carolyn Mace um, talks about that in So You Want to Be a Healer. She did a talk, and it was a punch in the gut for me to listen to her. It changed my life, where it changed my perspective on the world, because she talks about we are a tribal society, right?
Mhm.
And everyone wants to fit in, because if we don't fit in the caveman days, if you didn't fit in, you were kicked out, and then if you were on your
Died.
own, you would die. So in this is integrated into our DNA.
Yeah.
So we have to fight that and be willing to stand up as an individual and say, that's not my story. This is my story. And when we do that, we can end up in something called the dark night of the soul,
Mhm.
where we start to access our own truth. And then we have to sit with the ideas, wow, I lived a life that wasn't mine. It was someone else's. It was my mother's, my father's, it was my religion, whatever it was. And to let go of that is terrifying and freeing at the same time. It's beautiful.
It's really the letting go of the control something has over you, because you could
Yes.
still be with your parents, you could still be with your family, still live out that religious concept, but not in a way that it is controlling you, but you are choosing how to use it versus letting it use you.
Yes.
So using is a strong word, but I think it's fine if you look at it from the context of you're the one empowered to say, um, I choose how to interact with my family. I set healthy boundaries. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about this, about he was describing how he um, was limiting the time, the access he was giving himself to his own family, and it was he's doing it in a very controlled way, which allows for this little time frame of pleasure, of happiness, of appreciation, and then he's out again. There's no space for like overlapping of, like bringing up the past and whatnot. It's like, okay, there's a tiny frame, let's enjoy each other, and okay, bye. And I was like, that's so good, that feels
You know what?
it's
It's
amazing.
boundaries. It's healthy
Yeah.
boundaries. And you know what? There's a lot of people in the world right now who will say, I only want to be friends with people who are like me or who believe in what I believe in. And then will judge people or get angry that
Mhm.
someone doesn't believe in what they believe. We talked about that earlier. And then I ask people, what is it in you that needs everyone to believe and see the world the way you do? And why is there such intolerance as to being around other people who see the world differently? And so for me, I try very hard to maintain friendships with people who have all different walks of life, who come from different walks of life, different belief systems.
Mhm.
I don't have to go out of my way to proselytize and convince someone to believe what I believe.
Mhm.
If I drop a little nugget and they take it and then want to have a conversation, that's fine. But I don't need to hit someone over the head, because going back to what you talked about is our bodies. We are seeing the world through our own experiences.
Mhm.
And so we need to have that understanding that all of this is God. We are all connected. And that is the quantum. And it's a matter of taking our own shadows that we are projecting onto others and getting angry at them versus, oh, what is this? Huh, I don't like this very much. Oh, I can't throw it away. It's stuck. Now what do I do with this thing? This is what we need to heal. And when we do that, we're going to see the world in a better place, and we'll see others in a different place too, in a better light.
That's amazing. I love that. it's the more, yeah, the more work we put into ourselves, the easier it is to be able to see, perceive reality the way you described it. It really takes work though, and a lot of courage to get there. But it's so worth it.
It is worth it. It is worth it.
And it's so amazing to sit by and witness something without having really to judge it or to say that's a bad person because they believe this or because they're talking about somebody I don't agree with. And it's like, oh, that's their life experience. And if I can own my own experience and I can I can accept myself for being a certain way, it's much easier to accept other people for being a certain way. And it's like, let them, I don't have to mingle with them too much.
Yeah. I love the painting that you're sitting in front of because to me it embodies the spiritual warrior in you. It's almost like your guide is like right up above you looking down on you, and that spiritual warrior is there saying, you know, with their sword, because it takes that kind of warrior to do the work that you've done. And I want people to understand that it's not an easy road, but it's a beautiful road if you're willing to take it. And finding a mentor, someone who can hold your hand for the ride, is really critical. And is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to cover? Because we've kind of gone to a lot of different places. So
No, 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 really not. I'm really honored. I wanted to mention who's in the painting. It's Christian Morgenstern, based on Rudolf Steiner, who was who kind of revealed who Rembrandt was painting. It's my favorite painting probably in the world. And this was a like a human being who could incarnate or appear at will. And basically he doesn't need to be reborn and go through the usual human cycle because he is so highly developed, and it's very special. It just has a very special frequency to it, this whole painting, that I'm like, when I sit next to it, I feel guarded, protected, inspired, and it's like this is incredibly important that we surround ourselves with things that mirror back to us what we need and what makes us feel protected and safe, because this is a we need all the warriorness we can get.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So like, and all the wisdom. And I also something to just as a from my side as a closing statement is, um when I was asked, why are you doing this? Which is so important, the why of what we do. Um, and you're a certified why coach on top of everything else, which I find everybody listening to this, if you don't know what your why is from the Why Institute, contact Lisa, because you really need to know what your why is. And there's up to 9. So that changed my whole personal pitch when I learned about that. So the why of Find Your Mentor is that I believe that we can't necessarily achieve world peace because we're living in a world of duality. Then it's not my mission. But I think with higher states of wisdom knowledge, the more knowledgeable we become, the more intelligent we can become. And intelligence inherently is not destructive. And so that's how we can achieve more and more balance in this world, and more health and prosperity and beauty and reverence and gratitude for everything. And I think that's really what I would love to inspire and bring to the world is, connect everybody who is looking and wanting to find the right person that can give them that nugget, that piece of information, or that body of knowledge that they need. Um, and so um, I think knowledge is power, and that's what I would love to leave it with. And what your book is exactly that, is knowledge is power, and knowledge about quantum is so critical at this point because people are looking everywhere to try and find answers to this crazy chaos that's going on, this confusion.
Confusion in this world.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because this is coming from someone whose why is mastery, right? Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, be
So,
careful, don't ask me a question if you don't have half an hour for an answer. Oh
so
God.
to understand that everyone comes from a different perspective,
Mhm.
how perfect that her why is mastery, where these are the people who love to research and learn and master a topic and they master everything that they do. They want to learn as much as possible. So she's doing all the research, so you don't have to. She's
Yeah.
bringing all the wisdom to you so you can come in and pick what you need. So it's so perfect for you and what you do. So I love
Yeah. Thank you.
that. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate all this
Me
wisdom from
too.
you. And I think this was an amazing conversation, and I can't wait to see your chapter.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm so honored.